Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session with Roy from Fulcrum and myself, Darren Spradley. I'm with Centra. We'll get started in a moment.
All right,
All right. 3:31 Central Time. Roy, should we kick this off?
let's do it. Jump in, Darren.
Sounds great. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Fulcrum customers. We appreciate you being here. It's going to be a fun session. I definitely am interested in learning more from Roy about all things drone related. For those of you that are in Central Texas, we're actually going to be doing an event with Fulcrum in January. As you can see in the picture, there are now full-size drones that you can fly in downtown Austin. So look for an event around Fulcrum, and if you are in the Central Texas area and you want to join us, we'll be going up in these drones, and it should be a great event, an experience like no other. So stay tuned on information on that. Again, it's going to be in January, date to be announced in downtown Austin. All right. So I am Centra. I'm with Centra. We are a sponsor of the Fulcrum event today. We're very excited to partner with Fulcrum. Great staff. We love them immensely. If you haven't heard of Centra, we are what's categorized as a DSPM vendor, Data Security Posture Management. And what I'd like to do today is just give you some very brief information about what is our value to businesses who adopt Centra. And we've already gained accolades in Gartner's Peer Insights, which is a peer review website. They categorize us as one of their favorites across our customer base. We've also earned accolades around what we're doing with Microsoft Copilot. And if you're using Microsoft's data security technologies, we're a perfect complement or augment to that. So some of the problems solved by Centra include what you see here on the screen. Most importantly, where is my important data? That goes for data that's in the cloud and SaaS applications in AWS, GCP, Azure, and of course, still in the data center. What kind of data am I storing? Is that data regulated? Do I need to put extra guardrails around it? Or is it redundant and trivial? Maybe I don't need to emphasize securing this data as much as some of my other important data. So we want to help you understand what's in your data sets across all of your domains. How can I automatically classify my data? So one of our key attributes of Centra is to be able to classify data with about 95% accuracy. We've actually had customers who have closer to 98% accuracy of scanned data and being able to classify that data in terms of is it important? Should it have certain classifications? So know that we're very good at classifying your data and eliminating that manual process of having to classify it from a human element. Of course, that allows you to prioritize what data to protect. And then very important, what has access to my data? What humans have access to this data? Do they even still need access to it? Do APIs, does developers have access to it? Do third parties have access to this data? So we want to give you a complete visualization of who has access and what those access rights are. Is it edit? Is it read only, etc.? In addition to that, we also solve a couple of other problems. Of course, can I safely govern AI and what kind of data goes into those AI models, including Microsoft Copilot? We want to prevent data misuse and safely allow you to adopt Gen AI. Um, can I do this with my current staff? Very important. Data security expertise is sometimes hard to come by. Can we build a product to be operational efficient so that you don't have to be tasked with, managing tool sets? We can integrate with some of your other existing tools, SOARs, ServiceNow, whatever you use to triage and investigate data security incidents, we can plug into those. And of course, you can leverage our Centra team and our services partners, perhaps even Fulcrum in the future, where they can help us both align with what your business priorities are around data security and if we're a fit and if we can help you solve some of the problems around data security. If you're not familiar with data security and data governance tools, especially DSPM, as Gartner calls it, what do you gain with a product like Centra? From Gartner's words, the required components that are critical to enabling good data governance and optimizing data security controls are the foundation of DSPM products like Centra. So wherever you are in your data security journey, you probably need to know, where is my data? What is it? And who has access to it? So those are the three fundamental things that we help in the data security pillar. You might recognize a few of these logos that currently use Centra, some of which are very vocal advocates of Centra. So if you want to talk to them and you want to understand how they're using Centra, let us know and we can facilitate that. Some of the key attributes that they bought Centra, the reason they bought Centra was, as I mentioned, our accuracy rate of classifying data. We are about 95% accurate at scanning data and understanding what's in the data and how it should be classified. So you can definitely put guardrails around it. We love lots of data. So whatever your scale is, whether you have a little bit or a lot, wherever it's stored, we're able to discover it and scale very quickly. And of course, that's operational efficient because scanning does take processing resources, and we want to do it as fast as possible with minimal resources needed by you and your team. And that goes into the 10x efficiency. So when we do scan, after it's over and we've done the classifications, the things we need to do, our product is ephemeral. So it doesn't sit there and take up Amazon Web Services or Azure cycles. Like we just sit there idle, or we can be removed completely until you want to restart us in the next session or the next scan. So we really want to be operational efficient, have explicit ROI. Let's find data that doesn't matter to you if it's redundant. So there's definitely a ROI factor around having a data security posture management product like Centra. Last thing I'll say is a couple of things that you might be interested to know about Centra is, do I ever take data out of your environment and scan it? No, we never want to introduce third-party risk. Whatever we scan for and classify stays in your environment. Full stop. We love scalable projects, so we want to be able to scale whatever your data set is. I mentioned high classification accuracy and then comprehensive coverage. We can scan structured data, unstructured data, even audio and video files where certain information is embedded into that type of file. So we have a broad coverage of platforms that we can manage and scan. You can see a list of the ones on the right. That's just a partial list, but definitely ones you might recognize. So that's a little bit about Centra. If you have any questions, reach out to your Fulcrum rep, and we look forward to speaking with you. But more importantly, let's get to that drone information.
Awesome, Darren. Thank you so much for that and the presentation from Centra. The drone event in Austin looks like a ton of fun. Being able to go up and fly in that drone. Yes, please, sign me up. All right. So with that, let us jump right in. All right, so we're going to cover Drones 101 today. We're going to do not a deep dive, but an inch deep and a mile wide coverage on everything from airspace regulation, usage, use cases, and things of that sort. I'm about to say the word drone a ton of times, so if you happen to be playing a mid-afternoon drinking game, this is the one for you. My name's Roy Vreeland. I like to fly things. I'm a certified fixed wing pilot. Got a couple hundred hours under my belt in little single engine Cessnas and the like. And a couple of years ago, I got my Part 107 drone license, which is the commercial drone license, in order to mess around with drones and the technology associated. Love helping out anywhere I can. I've done a bit of search and rescue work, flying their drones, fire departments, sheriff's offices, and things of the sort. I've definitely never jammed anything because that's illegal. We'll talk on that later a little bit. All right, so what are drones or unmanned aircraft systems? They've been around for a long time, but the system, a drone system, is made up of typically a drone aircraft, a ground control station, and the communication links and anything that supports it. These started off in the military, have made their way into the consumer markets. I'm sure you've seen them at Walmart and other places like that as gifts. And we're getting more and more heavy usage into the commercial side of things. The evolution of drones is really quite interesting. They started off in, we'll call it the early 2000s, with what was called the Global Hawk program in the military, where they'd fly drones around, record video footage, and then be able to go back and backtrack data for targets, weapons, whatever it might be. And it's a really neat thing. They rolled out in the consumer space, I'm going to say in a heavy way in like 2010-ish and onward. But these drones were very basic, that you could fly around. They didn't typically have cameras or advanced sensors or anything like that. But with the availability and cost drops for things like GPS, different sensors, and software, that helped drones from 2015 onward become much more fun and really, really interesting little gizmos that you can use for commercial industry. You can use them on so many sectors, and we'll touch on that later. And right now, what we're seeing is a very neat leap forward, especially in power with drones. The military now uses hydrogen fuel cell drones, so that's how most of their big boys are running, the drones that are 30, 40 feet long. We'll see if that comes to the commercial side or consumer side anytime soon. But in the meantime, we're stuck with lithium ion and LiPo, which still do a great job and give us a good flight experience. What are the main types of drones? Really, there's three. Realistically, two when it comes to the consumer level drones. There's multi-rotor drones. We've seen like little quadcopters, heptacopters, octocopters. That's a mouthful. And they're pretty neat. These things are great because they can take off straight from the ground, go up, fly around for about 30 minutes or so, and then come back. You can attach all sorts of payloads to them, from cameras to thermal sensors and everything else. Fixed wing drones are superior in terms of range and flight time. These things can stay in the air, again, at the consumer level and commercial level, typically for about 60 minutes. These are awesome if you need to have something record video for a long time in the sky. They're good for commercial agricultural use cases. They even make drone crop dusters now, which is absolutely wild. But they do require runways or catapult launches from the hand. Just chuck those things out there. And then there are hybrid vertical takeoff and landing drones out there that can then pivot their thrusters forward, kind of like the Marines Osprey aircraft. You don't see these a lot. They're pretty cool, but they're pricey. Here's a couple image of each. Again, multi-rotor advantages. They're the most common things that we'll see out there. Fixed wings are fun, and as someone who likes fixed wing aircraft, I can appreciate these and think they're pretty cool, but they take up a lot more space. They're generally larger. So I stick to multi-rotor stuff for most things. Show me the money. How big is this market? Currently, it's about $42 billion globally, and that's including all sectors. It's projected to grow to about 75 billion by 2030. That's huge, right? And kind of not surprising also that the military is, we'll call it half of the market, commercial being about 40% and consumer about 10% of that market. Now, DJI, a drone brand, they have taken massive hold on the industry with the majority of their drones being out there. And that's what most people think of when they think drones. They're a great product and a ton of fun. We're even, yeah, doing the raffle for one if you visited the vendor expo booth. So hope you did. But in the news lately, DJI, are they a national security threat? So it turns out that these drones are owned by Chinese companies. That's not a surprise, but what is interesting is how over the years they've been caught exfiltrating consumer data. Now, these drones, while most of DJI's drones are on the consumer side, they do have a lot of commercial applications as well. They're often used by municipalities, state governments, and federal governments. So right now, at the end of this year, 2025, the US government is considering a ban on all DJI drones for use in critical infrastructure projects or just general government use. We'll see what happens there. There is a chance like a US holding company could come in and buy a portion of the company, which kind of negates this. But yeah, the privacy concerns are very real with DJI drones. Now, if you watch the previous talk from, I believe it was Tom and Chris on pie holing, uh, stopping DNS traffic going out using Raspberry Pi, you can actually defend yourself and stop these sort of data exfil that has happened over the years with a pie hole. So that's a pretty cool thing you can do. Not too hard to stop or mitigate, but it is a concern for use in the national security sector. All right, so if you want a drone, there's a lot of things you got to think of in terms of what you want the mission to be for that product. Uh, how much money you're willing to spend on this drone? What kind of features do you want? What kind of battery flight time do you expect to have out of it? Most consumer drones can be 15 to 60 minutes, and that's pretty awesome. That's a great time, and that's enough for if you want to fly your drone up and get some sweet Instagram pics. If you're an influencer type person, that ain't me, but alas, to each their own. Operating range. This one's great because you can fly a drone legally per the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration's rules, as far as you can see it. So if you can see 10 miles, you can fly your drone, and if it has the technology and battery, you can fly that thing 10 miles out and bring it right on back, which is a pretty cool. Imaging systems are also something to consider when purchasing or getting into drones. Do you want to be an FPV pilot wearing the goggles on your eyes where you can see a camera directly on the drone? Those are pretty cool. Do you want to just have a regular camera for flight tracking from a controller? Or do you want to take cinema quality 8K footage from that bad mamma jamma as it flies through the air? It's pretty incredible stuff they do. And now, interestingly enough, there are LiDAR sensors attached to these drones that neat use cases. They're being used in South America to map under the canopies of the trees because LiDAR can see under the trees, under the greenage, and finding new abandoned, cool old cities and stuff. Really neat and very cost effective compared to doing that with a helicopter. Some other features that we get in there, available even in consumer drones, or GPS waypoint navigation, obstacle avoidance. You can have these drones follow you as you, let's say, ride a mountain bike or do something cool. And then you've got some pretty sweet footage of yourself doing things. Return to home functionality is also really nice. So say you're out and about flying your drone and you fly it around a building, suddenly your controller has lost its connection to the drone and you can't control it anymore. Modern drones will be smart enough to remember their path via GPS and backtrack if it loses connection until it re-enables that connection and then can return to home entirely if your battery is going to die or something like that. So you don't lose your investment, which is really quite nice. All right, the FAA, again, the government, we've got to fly our drones in a responsible way. And the FAA makes all the rules for this. Uh, so there is a registration requirement if your drone weighs more than 250 grams. This is about half a pound and isn't, yeah, this is only required if you're, again, if the drone is more than half a pound or if you're using it for commercial purposes. If you're a recreational flyer, it's not needed. Same with remote ID. This is kind of a digital license plate that is attached to drones that the drone beacons out as it flies to help track things. There is a test that the FAA also says you have to take this little test that is hosted on their website to show you have basic knowledge of how to fly a drone safely. There are altitude restrictions as well, up to 400 feet above ground level. But if you want to say, I don't want to do that, I want to do all kinds of fun things, you can get what's called the Part 107 certification, which is also basically a drone commercial license. All right, so remote ID and trust. A little more about remote ID. It's newer in the last, I want to say 3 years or so, and it's essentially a license plate for your drone. So if you have a drone built after 2022, it probably has the technology built in, unless it's a $20 Walmart one or something. But any DJI drone or name brand drone has this built in already from the factory. It's tied to typically your name. You have to create an account. And so this way, when you fly your drone, it can be actively tracked so you don't do something silly with it. Or if you do something silly with it, they know who to go after and who to reach out to in order to say bad. The FAA does take these violations of airspace and things seriously. So if you fly your drone into or near an airport, near a government building, over a prison, for example, is another one, they will come and find you. You can go look online at cases where people flying their drones near airports, getting sweet photos, and then they get a fine in the mail or lose their license altogether. So don't do that. Also, the FAA is also so cool and hip that they came up with their own website called the FAA Drone Zone. This is where you can register your drone. You can manage your credentials if you want to achieve the Part 107 certification, and they put out updates all the time for the latest and greatest in what to do when you're a Part 107 pilot. They also provide a lot of open source study material for their test. Again, the trust test is a free one that you can go online and do just for general knowledge about airplanes, drones, and airspace. The Part 107 handbook is more in depth as it covers a bunch of airspace specific things, weather regulations, and generally how to operate your drone. So thanks FAA for putting the knowledge out there. Okay, so why would you get a Part 107 certification? Why would you want to become a certified drone pilot? I mean, the reason I did it is so you can get a cool little card in the mail from the government that says you're a drone pilot. Not really. That's a cool thing. It's a perk, but they do send you a neat little card, which is nice. But if you get your Part 107, you can make money with your drone, and that's a ton of fun. You can use it for real estate inspections, construction, and we'll talk more of these later. Um, you can also say, hey, I want to fly into restricted airspace, and you can put in a waiver request for them. Say you want to fly above 400 feet AGL, above ground level. You can absolutely do that once you're a commercial pilot. They really loosen the reins on you once you get this license, which is very achievable, typically in under 2 weeks, and let you have a lot more fun with your drone. When do you need to have a Part 107 commercial drone license? If it's going to benefit a company in any way, if you want to be compensated monetarily or otherwise for it, um, those are the big ones. So that's if you ask the FAA, that's what they'll say. If you're making money with it or if it's benefiting a company, you have to be a commercial pilot. You can do a lot of things with this, but you can also do a lot of things with just being a recreational pilot. You can take photos, just have fun, have it follow you around, get all your Instagram pics, as the kids do, and even do things like that. All right, so how can you make money with a drone? This world is wild, and I did this for a couple years when I first got my license with it. And I had a not a fancy like, in fact, it is the Mini 3, the DJI Mini 3, the same one that we are raffling off, which is pretty cool. Use it for real estate photography. So most real estate companies will be happy to reach out and pay someone to go and take drone photos of properties, land, houses, things of that sort. So easy money right there if you want to get some ROI from your device. Inspection services and construction, kind of on the same page here, they will also do that. So roof inspections are huge, especially in larger commercial buildings and things. You can fly your drone up and down, take a bunch of video, send it to them, and they'll pay you handsomely for your time. Mapping and modeling is pretty neat with photogrammetry. They can attach specific sensors to these drones. Typically, these are with the larger commercial drones. Um, but you can make, we have the numbers here, 1 to 10,000, but you see in the 2 to 3,000 range a lot for if you have LiDAR or different sensors, you can have really incredible income just from this as a side hobby. Another thing you can do with a commercial license is get involved in your community. This is how I got started with playing with bigger drones. And like I said, it was with search and rescue and sheriff's office. And the best part about this is you don't even have to have your own drone. You fly theirs. They have 20, $50,000 drones with crazy night vision and thermal sensors and all this cool stuff. And if you're a certified pilot and can prove that you've got decent skills, they'll let you, or may let you, take them out and fly them on missions. So get a call in the middle of the night. Hey, we lost a hiker up on this mountain. Can you help us? You go drive to the site, fly the drone around, and you can help find a missing person, which is a very cool experience. Great. So you've made the decision to buy a drone. Now what? Now what do we do? Know your equipment, understand regulations, don't be a dork, respect airspace, and respect the RF spectrum. Don't jam drones, don't do it, and fly responsibly. So what do we have to do specifically? When you fly a drone, commercial or not, you've got to maintain visual line of sight. You can use a spotter for this, which is an interesting workaround. They call it a visual observer, but as long as you can see your drone, you're in good shape. So this prevents you from doing dorky stuff like flying into bad weather, losing sight of it, and hopefully don't lose your drone. And you can't use binoculars to see it from the top of a skyscraper. That doesn't count. You've got to be unaided, be able to see your drone, but you can use a spotter to kind of extend your range a little bit. A big part of the Part 107 certification is airspace. Now, we're going to look at some airspace maps in a second, and they're going to look really complicated and crazy, but I've broken it down here, and I'll share with you my quick and dirty mnemonics for remembering the different airspace types. Class A, high altitude. I remember A, altitude, easy cheesy. Class A is everything above 18,000 feet. Class B, major airports. For me, I think B, big airport. Class C, regional airports. C, city airports. Class D is in Delta, small airports. The way I remember D is dumb little towns, because that's generally how it goes. Class E is controlled airspace, which is basically E, everything else. And G, uncontrolled airspace, is typically ground, G for ground. You remember from the ground to 18,000 feet for Class G airspace. All right. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, which is a little capital city surrounded by podunk, not much. Now, in this airspace map, it looks kind of complicated. There's a lot going on here. We're not going to jump into every little piece of it and what it is, but you got to get a general understanding of this image being centered around an airport. There's a couple other little airports around it, which is the circles with the little nubbins sticking out of the sides. That's a technical term, nubbin. And essentially, you can't fly in these areas. You can see the center of the middle circle there says surface, and above it 49. That means 4,900 feet. So from the surface to 4,900 feet above ground level, that is controlled airspace. You can't fly in there. And airspace is built like an upside down wedding cake. And so the outer part of this ring, you can see the big numbers say 23 and 49. So again, if the middle is surface to 4,900 feet, the outer layer is 2,300 to 4,900 feet. All right. This map is much crazier. This is IH, Houston. This is some of the busiest airspace in the country, and it is vastly more complicated and technical. We're not even going to touch this with a 10-foot pole, but just know that if you try to fly a drone near a lot of these big cities, be very careful because there is a lot of restricted airspace around. And if you're in doubt, don't mess with it. Don't fly near it because bad things will happen. Fortunately, there are tools to help you figure out airspace. And again, the FAA, because they're so hip and cool with their drone zone, they even came up with an app for us to help figure out airspace, and it's called Before You Fly. Before You Fly. Uh, the name is horrible, but it is a decent app to figure out airspace in your area, if there's any TFRs, temporary flight restrictions in your area or otherwise. So it works, it's fine. There's the Lang system also is another notification capability that keeps you aware of different airspace issues. And these tools are helpful for not being a dork and not getting arrested and not getting fined. Good to know if you're a hobbyist or a commercial. Safety is the biggest thing. Most of this is common sense, but in general, plan your flights, do a weather assessment. So if it's going to be rain and cats and dogs, don't expect to go out there and have a ton of fun. Rain kills electronics, so use common sense. Continuous learning, always try to get better. See if you can find a mentor in the space or something like that if you want to make this a job, a side hustle, or even just have questions. Community awareness too, always fun to be a part of the community. Be aware of emergency procedures. If your drone does fall out of the sky, what do you do? How do you handle that situation? And equipment maintenance. Uh, Plastic propeller blades need replaced over time. That's just the thing. You can get aftermarket ones. You can do all sorts of fun stuff with it. So understand the environment that you're working in. Okay, privacy considerations. Don't be a creep. That's sort of what it comes down to. Federal laws on this are really interesting in that there's no federal laws that specifically say you can't fly over people's houses or take videos of things. And a fun fact, what if I told you that it was perfectly legal to throw a watermelon out of an airplane? We're talking small single engine airplane, not like commercial jet, because obviously there's no. But you can throw things out of airplanes perfectly legally according to the federal government, as long as it does not cause damage to persons or property. I had no idea when I started flying and learned that, and I threw a banana peel or two out the window just for fun. It was really rewarding, not gonna lie. But back to privacy. There is no privacy laws coming from the federal government or FAA about this kind of stuff. But in general, don't be a creep. There are state and local laws around this though. And generally what I've seen from the few states that I've worked in is if you are less than 500 feet over a domicile or residence, you should not be photographing or videoing in someone's household. That's really it. And given that the highest you can fly as a recreational drone pilot is 400 feet, that's sort of their uh, half-hearted way of getting people to not just record into people's houses. Uh, yeah. With that, if drones are stalking you or above your house, a couple rules here. You can't shoot them down with a gun. You can't shoot them down with a jammer. You can't jam. Don't do that. There's a few funny YouTube videos of a guy who shot down a drone with a shotgun over his house because he was sick of it like buzzing around. And the cops came and he's like, "Yeah, I blew that thing right out of the sky." That's a good watch, but you can't do that because it is still damage to someone's property. So jamming, don't jam. The FCC, Federal Communications Commission, is extremely strict about this, and turns out they're very good at monitoring it too. They have surprisingly complex and widespread networks for tracking all sorts of weird RF all over the world. So they know when people are jamming, when you just blast RF out there. Even if it does succeed in getting your drone out above your house, like that's not the way to do it because you will get fined. Really, if you suspect that you're being stalked by someone with a drone, you can reach out to local authorities and they can then do their due diligence and find when things are happening, if it's happening around you. The FCC can even reach out and triangulate the position of the controller that's flying that drone, if this is a real thing, if it's happening to you, and pinpoint where that person is, and then go back and try to do something about it. So don't take things into your own hands unless you don't get caught. I didn't say that, but alas. Okay, jamming is a crime. Seriously, don't do it. Spaceballs reference, because it's one of the best movies of all time. Just putting that out there. Again, don't do it because the FCC has been known to fine people over $100,000 for this kind of stuff. Reason for that is multi-pronged. A lot of the same frequencies that drones use, think 2.4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, 900 megahertz. Those are all used by emergency response services, major telecom and communications, and likewise. You can really do some serious damage if you just build a jammer, especially with a friggin' unidirectional antenna. That's it could be bad. You don't want to do that. Okay, so now that we know not to jam, how to jam a drone signal. Great, very fun. So here's the thing with jamming. It's pretty doable. Most of the audience for this is going to be on the technical side, and if you're not, what you can do is you can pull up most anything with a radio in it these days and check for an FCC ID. And if you don't see a sticker with an FCC ID number on it, you can go online and look it up. Referencing that FCC ID will then help you identify exactly what frequencies, maybe even modulation methods and frequency hopping methods this device uses to communicate. And if someone were so inclined to do this, what would they use? Well, luckily, with the advent of software-defined radio, things like the Hacker F and a good amplifier and antenna, you too can jam. Not that you should, don't do it, don't jam, but if you want to, here's how. You just have to look as cool as this guy in the picture with his like AR platform thing, the Yagi antenna on front. Yagis are great for jamming. They are directional, hyperdirectional antennas. You just need a lot of power to do jamming properly. However, with jamming, just know that if you do successfully jam a drone signal, you're not going to necessarily make it fall out of the sky. What you're really doing is cutting off the link between the drone and the base station, the controller that's running it. A lot of drones these days are pre-programmed for their route, for their flight route, using GPS coordinates. And GPS jamming is possible, but outside the scope of this discussion for today. So really, jamming's not going to do much in the meantime for most drones. So don't do it. So don't do it. Yeah. Okay. We talked about a bunch today from part 107, why it makes sense, why it might be fun to get the certification. And even if you don't, you can have so much fun as a recreational drone pilot. There's so many things you can get into with a drone, even just basic photography, family photography. I talk smack on influencers doing all this stuff, but still, it's a great community to be in. Aviation is a ton of fun and absolutely recommend people get into it. If you want to monetize it, there are tons of opportunities, even as a side hustle. Uh, Key takeaway, regulatory compliance is non-negotiable. Understand that you are playing in the air where planes fly. Things can go bad. Same with radio signals. You don't want to jam them. Really don't be a dork and have fun with it because that's the whole point. And again, coming in for Centra, this thing looks sweet. I really would love to go to Austin and fly this thing around. So after all that drone talk, guys, like find a way to make it down there because this looks like so much fun. That little single manned, how many is that? Many rotored device. So that looks like a ton of fun.
You're going to make everyone want to cover the Austin territory. I think Kaylin's already gotten messages from 5 engineers that want to be at that. So
Let's go.
let's
Yeah.
go. But hey, Roy, we did have some questions posted in Q&A. I don't know if you can see Q&A. If not, I can read the questions to you.
Yeah, if you don't mind,
I sure
I'm really
will.
bad at this game.
First one from John Bernard is remote ID similar to ADS-B and registered tail number?
Great question. Same, but different is what I would say about that. It is a similar technology, how it's blasted out, but it is totally different in the form and format. And ADS-B is piped into the national networks for airspace traffic and monitoring, whereas the remote ID is just emitted from that single drone itself and not taken into like a larger national system. So that's a great question.
Awesome. Another follow-up question from John Bernard. Where do you see drone tech going in offensive security applications over the next few years?
Oh goodness. I mean, if we look at the war in Ukraine, I assume that's the type of offensive security, or we can bring that back to cybersecurity because that's probably more relevant. Um, Great question. You can use drones to leverage Wi-Fi and have like a Wi-Fi hotspot or just device on a drone to get it next to a target and then conduct wireless Wi-Fi pen test from a drone. Crazy. But we've seen that out in the wild a little bit.
Awesome. Next question. In Class G, uncontrolled, where drones be flown for recreation that isn't private property, any popular locations designated for such activity?
I'm sorry, what was the question there?
So for Class G uncontrolled areas,
Mhm.
are there any popular locations designated for such activity?
Oh, absolutely. So, okay. Yeah, the FAA knows that people want to fly their drones in cool places. So, a lot of national parks and other areas are very much so into letting you fly and making exceptions for airspace in those areas. Class G is like the most rare kind of airspace in the country, but if you can find it, like send it, absolutely. But in general, there is a lot of airspace that's made and designated around um, recreational, what's the term? Tourism. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's out there.
Gotcha. Are there any drone features you wish existed but don't yet?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Or is that a laundry list?
There's a laundry list. There's so many cool things you can do with them. I think the power one is going to be huge, right? So once we get solid state batteries or better developed batteries and have an hour plus long flight time, you expand the mission scope for these things so much that it's just incredible.
Last one, is this a skill set worth developing or is it becoming commoditized?
Ooh, great question. I personally feel like it's worth developing. I believe that we're seeing a little bit of a resurgence in general aviation across the country, whether it be like in fixed wing small aircrafts or in drones. Like the technology's here. I mean, as we can see, we can go fly a single person drone thing around Austin, Texas. Dude, what? I think that it's here, it's fun, and while it's still tinkerable and accessible, it's a great time to get in on it. And it's a skill that, while you might not use it all the time, it can be very fruitful and valuable when you do.
Awesome. I said it was the last one, but they're still coming in, so we've got a few more. Do regulations differ from state to state? If I take my drone on vacation for family videos, can I assume the regulations are the same, or do I need to plan ahead and do something special?
That's an awesome question. No planning ahead. The FAA covers the entire United States, so you are good to go, including Alaska and Hawaii. Cannot speak for Canada or Mexico or other foreign places, but within any US airspace, it is all the same. The thing that changes from state to state are privacy laws, where they might vary a little bit. So if you're planning on going to a different state to film someone at their house, that's on you.
Got it. Okay, next one. Are there any 3D FPV drones on the market with stereoscopic cameras?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that at this point in time, but I can certainly look into it.
I think Jay Bold, who asked that question, should research it and tell all of us.
Yeah, do it, Jay. Please
Thanks,
do.
Roy. One more. What do you think about the DJI soft band situation?
Yeah.
And if you don't like that question, it's from Randall Moore.
No, I think that's a great question. I think it's sort of a similar situation as TikTok, right? We as a nation sort of realize how important our data is, and noticing when countries choose to exfil it says a lot about that data because it can be very valuable. It tells you where the base station is, where the people are using it, where they're flying, how they're flying. And there are even instances of people like noticing that images of video data are coming back as well. So that's a scary thing. And I'm personally for the soft ban, especially at the government level. For consumers, like we can block that relatively easy, but leave it up to the government to mess things up sometimes. DJI makes a good product, and yeah, you can't hate on that too much.
Awesome. Well, I think that is all of our questions, which is perfect. We're right at time, but Roy, thank you so much for a fun, informative session. Just a reminder to everybody, these will be recorded. posted to the lobby as well as on our YouTube channel afterwards. But also during the con, if you go to the speakers tab from the lobby, you can connect with Roy, see his bio, ask him questions with anything you have as follow-up. So again, thank you, Roy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks.